Well, students, we're gonna work on some tree collage based on the things that you already know about trees. The first thing I would like you to do is to work on your sky. So I'm gonna move this paper over. This will end up being the trunk of my tree. I'll give you a yellow paper. I would like you to make sure that this is nice and big. And I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna cut it out carefully. And I'm even gonna cut kind of around those edges so that it doesn't get too small. Now, once I cut this out, one thing I'm thinking is that if this has pencil on it, in order to save me time, instead of erasing that, I'm going to put the glue on that side. Please glue the middle and glue the edges really, really well. I know you might get a little bit of glue on the table, but that's okay. And then you can see this side is nice and clean. So if it has pencil, that's the side we should put the glue on. Now, I would like you to put your sun higher on the page. So here, I'm gonna put it about here, because if it's too low, then it's gonna end up getting covered up by your land that we end up putting on here later, because this will take us more than one time to do. Once you have your sun on, so I'm thinking kind of in order, sun, then clouds is gonna be next. You're gonna have some paper that I would like you to share. So something that I usually do is I cut the straight sides off of the paper. So here, I'm just cutting kind of a curvy line, and you can see that I did not draw it with pencil. Now where this curvy line is, this can just become another cloud. Probably three or four clouds should be enough. So on that curvy line, I can just continue working my way up. And then that would give enough space for someone else to be able to use parts of this too, okay? So we're gonna pretend 3 or 4 clouds should be enough. I would never put glue on the pink paper. The glue is always gonna go on the shape that I'm putting down. If you do want to layer some of them so that you can have part of the sun covered behind a cloud, you can. Just make sure to press those pieces down well. Take your next piece, glue the middle, glue the edges. And I'm just gonna layer this in a few different places. Then do this one last. If you notice, like I'm thinking to just kind of space them out so they're not all in the same area. So here, I've got a few open spaces. So maybe I would put one extra cloud in that space if I had extra room. Okay? If your clouds are bigger, then you definitely do not need more than 3 would be enough if they're big. So now that my sky is done, I will begin passing out some of these papers for you to do the trunk of your tree. With this, one thing that I would like you to think about is to make a line, and I'm just gonna have it go from the edge of my paper off the top. And I'm trying to make it a little bit bendy so it looks more like a real tree. It's not super straight. Something I don't want you to do, don't draw a line here. It just goes from one side all the way to another side. And then just make a long V shape. And then that helps branch your tree out. Once you have that done, then we can cut this, and the pieces that are along the edge will end up becoming your branches. So I'm gonna pass out these. Keep these long strips. Don't throw those away. I'll show you what they can be used for. So here, cut this curvy line, work my way down, set that aside, then cut this V shape out. So you will notice that this tree is as long as your paper. So that's why we're doing our paper the tall way. So here, I'm gonna just move this over. So now this is gonna be just as long as my paper. I could move it over more to one side. That would be okay. I don't want it to cover the sun too much, but it could. It could be right in the middle. You can decide what you think will look best. I think I'm gonna keep mine just over just a little bit. And we always wanna glue it very well. So I'm gonna glue the middle. I'm gonna glue my edges. And once I glue the middle, I usually do the edges about 2 times. Go around those edges. Then I'm gonna pick it up, I'm gonna line up the bottom, and then this should be able to press and line up on my paper. Now this tree doesn't have any branches. It has well, I guess it has 2 branches. This extra paper here that I have as scrap can become my branches, and I'll show you a little trick. In order to make this so that it points up towards the sky, if you cut a line like this, so you cut it so that it's pointed up, then that can go right on your tree. So here, if I cut these so that I have these lines going this way, this actually has a name called a parallelogram, but if I cut these so that they've got these slanted lines, then these can be taken and glued, and then I can put it on my tree. Now notice I glued the wrong side. If that happens, oh, I don't want it to point down to the ground, so I just turn it and I put it on the other side of the tree. So that's a little trick, so hopefully you noticed that. So here, if I were wanting this one to be here, but I put the glue on the wrong side, it would have to go on the other side of the tree. But here, I want it to go there, so I just flip it over, put the glue on the correct side, and then it should line up. Now, I'm gonna try to make as many branches as I can, so this one only has 1 line on it, so we'll make this one go this way again, and I'm gonna take this one and I'm gonna make it kind of turn into like a Y shape. Glue the middle, glue your edges, line this up, and it should go right on your tree. If you have some that go off the edge right now, that's okay. So that one could go here, flip it over, glue the middle, glue my edges, line it up. And then they're not just like a bunch of sticks, but they're like branching out. This one looks like I could use it here, flip it over. If this part of your table starts to get too sticky, like mine is starting to stick, then start putting them in different places. So you don't want them to all go in the same place. So that was only one of my extra pieces. I still have all of this left. So let's just do the same thing. Let's line it up here. Let's cut this line, and then I can just take it and we'll cut another line, and then we'll cut another one. And then let's see if we can get these to go on my tree too. So I gotta line that up, figure out what side the glue goes on. So I'd flip it over, and then the glue goes on this side. Last part that I would like you to do today would be to get some grass on it. So as you're working, I will start passing out some extra paper. So here, I do have room for more branches and things. I actually want this one to be longer. Use that whole part of my paper, so I just line up that piece. And then this will help me put it and make it long enough. So here, make sure it fits, flip it over, glue it really well. So this is the last step. Got all these Y shapes for my branches out. Then I've got this grass. You're gonna see it's gonna fit right down here. This is really getting sticky, so usually I would start moving this over, but I don't want it to go off the screen, so we'll leave it right here, and I'm just gonna try my best to make sure there's not glue on the top. But glue the middle, glue the edges at least 2 times, then take this, make sure you're lining it up carefully, make it as straight as you can, and then take it and we'll press it down. Then at the end, we'll make sure that we put our names on the back. We'll make sure that we turn our glue down. We'll twist our cap on. We'll put our glue and our scissors away. Any extra scraps you have, you can take those and you can take these and just put them all on your paper, pick them up. You can just dump it off into the recycling bin, and then you'll have your paper at your spot and I'll be able to pick that up. So let's have fun working on this collage.